This is the Real Estate Podcast, the intersection between the latest trends in real estate and its impact on our everyday lives. We're your hosts, Alex Norman
and Jamie Blonde, and you've come to the right location. The Real Estate starts now. In today's episode, The Gulf, we explore the intersection of real estate and the growth in Florida's Gulf Coast. We are thrilled to have as our guest Felicia Doring, an award-winning 15-year real estate industry veteran and the current director of sales for Saltaire, the most exclusive new luxury real estate development in downtown St. Petersburg. Welcome to the show, Felicia.
Welcome.
Hi, Jamie. Hi, Alex. Thank you so much for the welcome.
So tell us a bit about your background and how you got into this business.
Long story short, I think I bought my first property ever in Australia pre-construction. So it seems inevitable that I would end up sort of somewhere close to 15, 17 years later working in pre-construction as well.
So tell us about Tampa, right? Or is it St. Pete?
Well, they're two different locations. They're separated by two different bridges. Amazing locations. Tampa is a destination right now which is highly in demand. It's a small city on the Gulf Coast, but it offers so many opportunities for buyers, lifestyle, and businesses alike. In downtown St. Pete, a little bit more of a different community. We have so much to offer over here. We have a $92 million pier, which we just finished developing. We have the Vinoy Hotel, established in 1923. It's a big location, downtown St. Pete. Direct waterfront, 3 marinas, private airport. I mean, we're literally sitting on a little bit of a greenery gold mine down here.
So how did you get from Australia all the way to St. Pete and Tampa?
It certainly wasn't a direct line by any means. I started working in real estate in Australia with one of the biggest commercial developers.
Now, was that Sydney? Was that Melbourne? Where was that?
That was in Sydney, mainly Bondi Beach and Sydney area. And then after that, I pursued the opportunity working as a buyer's broker, got different licenses, and then was looking at relocating into Dubai around 2008. And then I think we all remember the fiscal crisis of 2008.
I was on Wall Street. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So plans changed. And I ended up coming over to the USA. There was great opportunities in real estate in the USA, predominantly in the short sale and REO market at that point in time. Banks weren't lending, so it was a real liquid cash-only market. And then I ended up staying here.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I visited Australia. I visited Sydney. And one of the coolest things about Bondi Beach, I think that's the beach where there was this huge pool that people would swim in. And it was ocean water. The ocean would literally splash into and the water into the pool. And I had the impression everyone in Australia was outdoors focused, whether it was scuba diving or swimming or sailing or boating or fishing. And I noticed you ended up in a city, Miami, that has exactly those same characteristics. That wasn't a fluke, was it?
It's definitely not a fluke. I think we definitely replicate our background a little bit into our new life all the time. What you're talking about is the icebergs. The icebergs. Amazing. So yeah, they have the live ocean pools, and they're actually lap pools. So while you're swimming, you still get the same kind of sensation as if you're in the ocean, because you have the waves coming in. So it's creating that kind of volatility, as you're swimming, of like nature, So
in addition to all of these beautiful things, I mean, the real estate market is pretty amazing here, right? I mean, I can't imagine why anyone would not want to be in the St. Pete, Tampa area, because it's basically paradise.
I think a lot of people are not aware of the location and what it offers. And so specifically for me, 10 years ago, I came to St. Pete with a friend of mine Oriol Sevilla, who's a race car driver, and he was racing during the Indy Grand Prix. So I came here 10 years ago. And I remember when I came here, especially as a natural runner every day, I remember thinking this place is amazing. It's parks and paths on the water non-stop. It's fantastic. And then there's just so much to offer here in different terms of lifestyle and things that are going on here. The place has really expanded. To come back 10 years later, it has grown exponentially on a real estate factor, waterfront factor, the $92 million pier that we have out here now, the airport, proximity to walking down to some of the best restaurants, and it's completely chill. Like, you don't have to worry about what you're wearing.
So, I guess at one point you'd think that the West Coast, the East Coast is for younger folks, the Miamis, the Orlandos, and to a certain extent, and then the West Coast is if you were a bit more seasoned and you didn't necessarily want to all the excitement and hustle bustle of what you'd get on the East Coast. Is that still the case, or do you see a bit more activity and excitement happening in the Tampa?
I think what's going on in downtown St. Pete, it's very eclectic. If I could I feel like I want to take 3 cities, like a little bit of Miami, tiniest bit of Miami, like the most watered down version of it, and then mix it with Austin. Austin has that eclectic eccentricity that people just love. Great food, great chefs, like down to earth, like really high energy. I'm not quite sure what the third mix would be. It's not really New York. It's not really LA. It's probably definitely Chicago. There's a lot of influence here and from Chicago as well. A lot of Midwest, but it's beautiful. I mean, you have the opportunity to go down to the waterfront, enjoy the waterfront, go up to Central Avenue and enjoy like really eccentric craft cocktails. We have breweries here. There's so much to offer on that opportunity.
So are you saying that you're seeing a lot of Midwest movement down to the West Coast of Florida? Because we've noticed on the East Coast, it's a lot of New York people coming down, a lot of, I used to work in finance. A lot of the financial companies are opening office down here from New York, and they're moving down here because of taxes. Where are you seeing the influx coming into your projects and other projects in the Tampa, St. Pete area?
Well, I guess for our project, we are 192 residences. We started selling last year. We're now about 160 residences sold, including 2 of our penthouses, which go for 7.2 to 7.6 million. There's a major influx coming into Florida generally from different locations, be it coming from New Jersey, upstate New York, out of LA. A lot of now is moving down through Texas after they had the plant issues, etc. So we're definitely seeing the influx coming into Florida per se. 100% I agree with you. It's a different demographic, which is moving into Miami, that is moving into St. Pete. So we're getting a lot of North Mid-East. One of my favorite buyers recently, we sold him a property and he flew his plane in, parked it at the airport, got out, went upstairs to the restaurant, which is on the runway, had lunch, and then walked across, past the site, saw the site, then walked into the sales gallery and purchased his penthouse.
That's a good life, I gotta tell you. That's not a bad way to live.
But it's a beautiful lifestyle, and it's a little bit more humble. It's not like they're landing their helicopter on 1000 Museum. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a different type of person.
Which at 1000 Museum is a building in Miami for people that don't know. So let's give us a couple of minutes about your project. What is your project that you're selling, and what's the importance of it to the community?
Wow, the importance of it to the community, I think, is bringing like absolute luxury downtown development into the area. The company I work for, Coulter, is a leading development company, absolutely fantastic. They have a strong position of developing and delivering very, very high quality product into the environment, which is nice. They're conscious of the environment they work within, which is also, an absolute pleasure. What are they bringing to the market? Luxury. For a lot of people, there's a lot of people in downtown St. Pete who quite simply have been living in beautiful waterfront homes, maintaining homes for around 20 years, that at this point in this buyer's market, or the seller's market more specifically, they can sell their properties, downsize to what they want, and have less of the maintenance and more of the luxury. So that's definitely what we're offering.
I've seen a lot of that in Miami. I was just recently talking to a couple of people who have come down here, who have been in homes for a long time. They're a little bit older. They've raised their families. They don't want to have all the work and all the maintenance of a house, but they want to still live in luxury. They still want to enjoy their years and enjoy whatever they've appreciated in the value of the home. And they've moved into a lot of the high rises that are growing like crazy here in Miami. And that's fueled some of the growth while we wait for some of the international buyers who haven't been able to come over recently, to take advantage of the opportunities to acquire here. Speaking of Tampa St. Pete, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell this story. For those listeners who don't know, Tampa is the lightning capital of the United States. There are more lightning hits in Tampa than anywhere else. And how do I know this? This is how I learned. I'm playing golf with a friend on a golf course in Tampa, and I'm about to hit my 7-iron, and we hear rumblings and clouds, and he says to me, "Oh, by the way, you might want to be careful with that swing. It's the lightning capital of the United States." Now on the 12th hole, in the middle of clouds everywhere, this is the point he gives me that safety tip. I was like, let's get off the course right now. But I really enjoy. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, just that 1.21 gigawatts reminds me of the Back to the Future. Like, had we had, it's like a good way to power your DeLorean.
Last year, when I was living in Miami and working in St. Pete, and I was traveling between Miami and St. Pete all the time, and every single time I would drive down between here and up to Naples and the Everglades, there was like this big cloud, and it was like waiting for me. It was like this giant cloud that would just sit over the top of my car and then just follow me home. And it would just rain on me. I'm not going to lie, I was driving my car shaking half the time because it really was electric storms, like rain.
Definitely considered a good omen.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever deal you were planning on doing that day, you might want to reconsider.
That's what
Get out.
He's in the house. The call is coming from in the house.
It was 2020, so you had to drive. You couldn't fly. But no, so the International Airport of Tampa, I have to commend this airport. I've been flying from, and Jamie, you speak the same, flying out of LGA into Miami non-stop, right? I mean, the amount of work we've been through during the amount of years, how it's been. Tampa Airport, I have to commend it. You just go into Tampa, you walk into that airport, they've got the tunnels, the trains. It's really set up as a high-end international airport, and that is what is putting St. Pete and Tampa real estate on the map. We've become accessible.
And it's color coordinated, and you don't have to. It's very easy to figure out. You have which lane you got to go. When going down what do you call it? Corridor D or Corridor B.
I find it easy because it's like F for Felicia. So I'm like, okay, this is F.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because you have Miami, which for many years has been considered a destination for tourism, and so the hotels and the event spaces, all for people that are relatively there on a temporary basis. And you look at then Tampa with all the new development, as you mentioned, the airport, it seems like it's built for business, and there is real business being done in Tampa. And I think of HSN, now QVC HSN, the telecommunications that are infrastructure that's there. It seems like people are coming to Tampa to work. Is that right?
I mean, I spent 12 years in Miami and I've been here for 1 year. So I don't know, like, how fair my judgment truly actually is. So I don't want to overstep my boundaries in this one. However, I definitely feel working in this environment a little bit more of a take back. People are very educated here. They take the jobs very seriously. They're very committed. There's a very ground roots family kind of environment here. The company that I worked for was established in 1969, family owned.
And really, you guys are on the map in so many ways. I mean, you've won the Super Bowl, you won the hockey championship, right? And by the way, the hockey team is owned by Jeff Finnick, who I got the pleasure of knowing because he was actually a client way back when he worked on the street.
I trained with him in Australia, actually.
And isn't he? I think he's involved in developing the whole waterfront of Tampa, a huge growth project there. So there is so much excitement going on in the Tampa St. Pete area.
Yeah, and we should actually connect and do a different video sometime, because I can take you to some of our properties and do it downtown and show you what's going on. But it's absolutely amazing. In downtown Tampa, with the international airport now, the correlation between China, direct flights, then heading into the proximity of Orlando, which, we all know everybody loves, like Disney, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
The other thing about Tampa St. Pete is I get is St. Pete, because I've been to Tampa, and then you go over the bridges, you're on St. Pete, you have that beautiful sand. It's so white that it doesn't even get hot. Is that an island the way Miami Beach is an island off of Miami?
Yeah, I think for the most part, most of that is like a very long extended island. It actually just got voted by Condé Nast as the #1 beach in the United States. It rivaled Hawaii. Hawaii's got the best beaches in the world. So for St. Pete Beach to come through as #1.
Well, hold on a second. Is anybody in Australia going to get very upset when they hear an Australian touting the best beach in the world as St. Pete when you're from Australia? Are you going to get into trouble for that? What's that?
Well,
beach in USA.
It wasn't the world.
Nice,
USA.
Nice recovery. Nice recovery, Felicia. Well played.
But I appreciate you thinking big, Jamie. But as you mentioned earlier, that Tampa, there's an awareness challenge with Tampa, right? And I think that between Condé Nast, the Super Bowl win, and our podcast, I mean, the word's going to be out. Everyone's going to know about it. I think. But I'm not going to lie. So I think that, for me as a New Yorker originally, and then obviously living in Miami, I had no idea where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers came from. I had no idea Tampa Bay was a thing, let alone Buccaneers. So what is Tampa? Was it normally known as like a pirate capital? Where is actually Tampa Bay in comparison to Tampa? Is it a thing?
It's a really valid question. So these are actually my questions as well, because only having relocated here within the last year. So they have this huge, big pirate convention. It's the biggest party they have in Tampa, is a pirate convention. Now I'm all for dressing up. So I was like, oh, this sounds great. Get dressed up in a little pirate outfit with a sword and, like that.
Well, my favorite letter in the alphabet is R.
You've been waiting to use that joke for 16 episodes. Finally got that out episode.
No, it sounds like no. No.
Now, how did you end up in Tampa? You actually had a COVID situation that, and then you went to Tampa and ended up in Tampa. You were in New York or something. What's that story?
So my partner and I were living, and we have an apartment in New York and also in Miami, and we were living in both locations. He was Park Avenue, Raymond James, which is headquartered out of St. Pete. And then we were given a relocation. They didn't really ask us. They kind of just told us, actually. And they relocated in February 27 in 2020. So we came down here very preliminarily, and it was for safety purposes, which was great and it was fine. And we loved it. I mean, we came down here, it was like dolphins out on the water, the parks were open, the beaches were open, life was good. And like I said before, it was meant to be 2 weeks. It turned into 6, 7, 7 months. And now I'm living here full time. So
sometimes there's a silver lining behind every cloud, huh?
it actually, it really worked out. It really worked out quite well. Yeah. So
Outside of your business, how or your personal situation, which you just mentioned, how has COVID affected the industry and your business overall in Tampa? We're seeing a flight from the urban centers, as Jamie had mentioned. People are moving out of New York City and even the Bay Area and coming to places like Miami and Boca. Are you seeing an influx of people coming in specifically for COVID reasons? And do you think people are going to stay, or you think that they're just buying something temporarily and then going to eventually go back to where they came from?
no, I think the movement right now is that people have spent a lot of time at home. They've had the time to reevaluate what their retirement plan is, what their work-life plan is. Well, I think when you get locked into an apartment, a 3-bedroom apartment, 4 kids perhaps, and you're working 2 jobs, and you're all locked in, you're homeschooling these children, and you're working individual jobs, you realize how small your environment is and the quality of life. So we've seen a massive restructure for people that are basically accelerating their plans for retirement, kicking back a little bit, and they're like, okay, so we can actually start doing this now, save more money later, and have more quality of life. And I think that's where we're seeing the surge in the single family home market. Definitely seeing a surge in the state relocation market, the tax play. For the first time, these people now, they don't have to be sitting in their office, catching a train home, traveling 2 hours a day, commuting city to city, living in a small condo. Now they can actually, if they have a good internet connection, be working from home in the comfort of their own life, which is life by design, right? It comes back to the old philosophy of the 4-hour working week. Can we be more productive in our own life?
You mean the fantasy?
That's 7-minute abs. I'm going to come up with 6-minute abs. It's, my dad retired in Sarasota, from Montreal. And so I have spent a lot of time there. And such a beautiful city, so laid back, and again, beautiful beaches. And we had a chance, you'd fly into Tampa sometimes. You go up to Tampa to play golf. And then I had a very good friend who worked in finance and worked at Raymond James and lived in Tampa as well. It always just seemed like a very friendly, easygoing, fun place that got hit by lightning a lot.
So I live in St. Petersburg specifically. I've never seen any lightning here, but I've definitely driven through some pretty hectic storms on the way. The Gulf Coast does not disappoint when it comes to storm chasing. Not my thing. However, if it is your thing, I'm pretty sure that the Gulf has a lot to offer.
Okay, dolphins, hurricanes,
manatees, lightning,
weather,
the usual
white sand.
And on Sunday,
no, I think they're more hurricane harbored here. The one thing that St. Pete has to offer, which is amazing, is the right bikers and runners on the road. Now, for me as a runner, I love it. I can literally run on the road and I have the same rights as a car. Obviously, if I were running at speed, that would be relevant. But
that sounds like an accident waiting to happen. I don't just as much rights as the car. Okay.
Yeah, but no, it is really nice where it's a community which interacts together. It's a high energy community. We also, a lot of the cars here are EV. So we have energy, efficiency everywhere. It's really easy to reload your car no matter where you go. Yeah.
So, it sounds like this is a window into the future potentially, right? And so, as we mentioned, because the migration people are coming down from COVID, people have recognized the quality of life, and even affordability is becoming an issue and becoming a thing. And basically, people are staying now in Tampa. And then, of course, you mentioned the EVs and all the things that are really wonderful about our environment that are kind of pushing the envelope in innovation across the country, but also now happening in Tampa. It sounds like Tampa is future ready, right? And so where do you see, from your vantage point, the future of Tampa and the future potentially of Florida at large?
I can't speak so highly, so much. I mean, because I live centro in downtown St. Pete, I can't speak too much of Tampa on the same level that I can speak of St. Pete. The future of Florida at large, I mean, every man and his dog wants to be down here. I mean, what really happened effectively in 2020? People got trapped in their homes. And they had that time, a lot of time, to kind of reevaluate the plan. What's the goal? What does a home mean to you? What kind of home do you really want to live in? It's like, are you skating through living in a small apartment, saving all your money for the big house one day? Which, when COVID last year reminded us that maybe you won't live until that point. Like, should we be living more for today? As opposed to just for the future. So I don't know. I think the future of Florida is very high. We have good weather here. But I can definitely speak for my buyers. A lot of them are second home buyers, and they're keeping their homes up north because they know how hot it gets down here as well. So, it's kind of like, let's be realistic. Yeah, we don't want to be snowed out and shoveling our cars every day. But at the same time, it's like nobody wants to melt all day, every day, So people are finding lifestyle balances these days.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting you say that, because when I lived in the Northeast, whether it was New York or Boston, the spring and the fall were beautiful. The summers were not bad, and the winters were horrible.
What about fall? Was fall okay?
No, fall and spring. For example, in New York City, the best season is the fall. It's just gorgeous. The trees are changing. You put on a light sweater or a medium jacket. It's crisp air. Everybody's back from the summer. There's a huge energy. But you broke it up in the winter by traveling to Florida. At least I did. Or you travel someplace warmer, Mexico. You take the long weekends. There's a long weekend every month, and you could break up the weather. So now when I'm in Miami, the thought process is the reverse. Is get away in August, get away in September, get away in July, and break up the heat. Because that's the opposite situation. But I agree with you. I'd rather be a little sweaty and have to go from the air conditioning in the house to the car to the restaurant, but not have to put on the heavy coats and get on the subway and sweat and get tired and then go back out in the cold and trudge through the snow. And yeah, I think for me, that was a better choice.
For me, 12 years in Miami, I missed the cold weather. So as soon as it got cold in New York, they're like, oh, it's snowing in New York. And I was like, great, I'm on my way. I'm on the first plane. By the way, always upgraded, first class every time, because nobody else is traveling that direction.
This is true. I mean, look, I've never met a heat wave that an ice cold margarita couldn't fix. so I mean, I definitely would take the heat over the ice cold any day of the week. But I love your optimism for Florida, and obviously St. Pete's your area. So I think St. Pete's now positioned for the future based on all the things that you said. Tampa has its moments. I'm actually very excited about the future of the Buccaneers. Of the Buccaneers, so you can get me on record for saying that. But I really want,
because Tom Brady kind of single-handedly came down in town, and then he was like, "Let's do this."
Yeah, someone give that man a cape because I think
Except when he's throwing the trophy across boats. That's not his best moment. But other than that, definitely the greatest quarterback, in my opinion, that we've ever had.
Moment when he staggered out the door sideways.
Yeah, so I guess so it seems like it's a lot of good
6 months.
Yeah. So it seems like there's a really good place for obviously people who love the ocean, love the water sports, love the fitness and lifestyle, the running and the biking. Also love the sports. Got a bunch of great sports teams in Florida, let alone Tampa and Miami, and it's a lot of great things happening for people that are young and old. I mean, it's the lifestyle, life stage. It seems to be a really good place. And it sounds like you are well positioned with your business to take advantage of that from a real estate perspective. And I know that for our show and our listeners, we like to talk about all the factors and elements that impact real estate that are not necessarily obvious, right? And so what would you, and I think, not to say that all the things we've just talked about are obvious, but what would you say are the things that perhaps are less talked about or less known about your region, whether or not that's St. Pete or the Tampa area, that are unique and that most people may not know about that makes that area so special?
I would say specifically with downtown St. Pete, is the amount of neighborhoods, like actual family neighborhoods in proximity of water, parks, lifestyle. It's a true family environment. And one thing that I've noticed here is just the community is so driven to push for the family. It's so nice. And after 12 years in Miami, and I love Miami, don't get me wrong, but I don't feel like the Miami pushes for the family environment where all the money from the city is going into family things, free things families can do on the weekend, out in the sun in beautiful weather, proximity, all these things taken in consideration. I think Miami is always focused a little more on the tourism and the influx, people coming in and restaurants. Kids don't really want to do that. Kids want to run through waterfalls, like little fun waterfalls, features. Like it's like the Bellagio in
Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas. So it's like a miniature version of the Bellagio. It's like it's a kid's height. They love it. I mean, and as an adult, for me on a day off, it's nice to just sit and watch the families all enjoying the space.
It makes you feel young again, doesn't it, when you look at something like that?
It does in a way, but it's also, children are brought up to learn respect.
Some of them.
Mostly. So you're in this constant surrounding where the families are enjoying the space equivalently and respectfully. And it's really cute to see. And they play live music. They actually play like Men to Work.
Oh, well, that's why you like it. You're the DJ. But
you're like, no, it's not. It's so weird though. I'll be like running through, and then I hear like Men at Work. I'm like, what? they got the Australian anthems like playing out of the trees.
Well, listen, Felicia, this has been a lot of fun, very informative. Can't thank you enough for taking the time. Congratulations on the Solitaire St. Pete's success and the luxury you're bringing, the exposure you're bringing to the St. Pete downtown area. And we wish you so much success, continued success, and in your efforts to improve the quality of life in that region. Yeah,
100%. I have 26 residences left out of 192. So
nice plug.
We'll jump on for the next one, for the next project.
So get it while it's hot. Thank you very much. It was so much fun, Felicia.
Such a pleasure to meet you, Alex, and thank you so much as well.
Take care.
Jamie, thank you.
You've been listening to the Real Estate Podcast. Give us a quick review and rating on iTunes. Check out our website at therealestate.co and let us know if there are any new topics you'd like to hear us address. We love hearing your feedback. See you next week.